Women are magical creatures and are very complicated from a hormone component. Today I wanted to bring in Tiffany Nunez. She's the newest nurse practitioner at Live Oak. She is going to be helping with everything, but is going to be primarily focused on women's hormones. So if you're coming into us for hormone optimization as a woman, you'll most likely be seeing Tiffany. Tiffany is going to help make it easier for us today, give us some basic intro guidance. We will have much more complicated, in-depth topics in the future, but I want to bring her in so that you can see her and get to know her prior to coming in. Today we're here with Tiffany Nunez. She is the newest nurse practitioner at Live Oak Testosterone, and she's tackling all the various aspects of guy hormones, testosterone replacement, aesthetics, all that stuff, but her primary focus and her main focus is going to be female hormone optimization. Can you tell us a little about your background and yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I have lived in San Angelo now for nearly 20 years. I'm married with 2 kids. We're very busy, active with the kids and sports, and we like to travel ourselves too. But I've been a nurse practitioner for nearly 11 years now. My primary background is family practice, some palliative care and hospice as well, but wellness has always been a huge interest of mine. We've always tried to stay well and healthy as best as we can, be active. And so having this opportunity to join Live Oak has been super exciting and just allowed me to really find where I can help others and feel my best as well and just promote wellness overall.
Well, it's been awesome having you. I want to kind of start from a basic, touch on some hormones and stuff, but really just to get some information out there. What is a menstrual cycle? And briefly describe what that entails.
So a menstrual cycle can kind of look different for everyone. For simplicity's sake, it's typically a 28-day cycle, 4 different phases. The first one, you have bleeding that begins, usually lasts 5 to 7 days. You have a follicle that develops typically in that same period up to 2 weeks. That follicle keeps developing, gets larger, releases an egg, which is the third phase, which is ovulation. And then after the egg is released, you have the luteal phase where progesterone is more dominant, tries to prepare that uterus for potential pregnancy.
And so if a couple is actively trying to get pregnant, when is the best time in there to try to conceive?
Definitely around ovulation. We typically say a few days before ovulation, few days after presumed ovulation. A woman doesn't always know when that ovulation is happening. Again, on average, that's going to be somewhere around day 14 of the cycle.
Okay. And so typically I'll have guys, if they're actually trying, I'll tell them, try and have sex 7 to 14, so the stuff is present there. And so that's if they know, and conception can sometimes happen at that point. Whenever a woman comes in they think their hormones are out of whack, we're going to get a comprehensive set of labs. What are you checking?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of times women get told by primary care providers or specialists that they see that their labs are normal, but they cannot pinpoint why they feel bad. They don't feel like themselves. And so our comprehensive panel includes the basic labs that are run, but also hormones, specifically estradiol, testosterone, thyroid and DHEA, progesterone. Those are kind of the heavy hitters, if you will, for hormones in women, and checking to see if there are any imbalances or if there is room for improvement.
When these women come in, does it matter what kind of stage of life they're in? I mean, if you have a 25-year-old, is that a different management from a 35-year-old than a 45-year-old to 50, 60, 70? I mean, their hormones are all over the place in each different stage. What are you looking at, or how do we even start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is definitely different for each woman. Every plan is going to be individualized based on their stage of life. Are they premenopausal? Are they postmenopausal? Are they perimenopausal? Which seems to be who we see the most of right now. Their hormones are fluctuating so much. Lots of differences in estrogen and progesterone. It's ebbing and flowing. Not really sure where they fall, why they feel the way they feel. And so, yeah, every woman is going to be treated differently based on their stage of life. You also have to consider their menstrual cycles. Do they have a history of PCOS? Have they had a hysterectomy? What does that all look like in terms of hormones and what we're going to do for their specific treatment plan?
And I kind of just want to know, what is estrogen?
There are 3 different forms of estrogen. There's estradiol, estrone, and estriol. We'll focus on estradiol because that is the most abundant, it's the predominant estrogen. So it is produced by the ovaries, and this is one that, is pretty regular in premenopausal women. They're cycling, their menstrual cycles are regular, so estradiol is pretty normal in them. Perimenopausal women, it's a little bit different. At that point in time, sometimes their menstrual cycles are becoming irregular. Estradiol and estrogen are kind of increasing, decreasing at certain times, whereas menopausal women, they have a sharp decline in estrogen. So again, that goes back to every person is going to have a different plan, especially regarding estradiol.
And once they lose that estrogen, that's whenever we see an increase in cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis. They start getting genital urinary symptoms, frequent UTIs. And I'll say, I am in the exact cohort of neglecting that. At urgent care, in the ER, I'd see women for these recurrent UTIs and treat them for a UTI. And I would say you should probably go get at least vaginal estrogen because I think that would help prevent this. But I wasn't going to manage it from the emergency department or urgent care because I'm not following up with them. And truthfully, I just didn't feel comfortable enough with the estrogen prescription itself. Since everybody seems to want to put it on to another person, they think the primary doctors think maybe the OB should do it. The OB is going to refer back to the primary. Who manages this?
We do. We manage this. This is kind of our bread and butter right now. We have really deep dove into hormones in general, but specifically female hormones as well, trying to figure out best treatment options, how we can help these women who are continually told that nothing is wrong with them.
So we have been using progesterone, and it almost seems magic at times in terms of sleep and mood stability. One of the hormones that seems to oppose estrogen is progesterone. What do we do with it, and what is it? Yeah,
so progesterone, there's a fine balance with progesterone and estrogen. They balance each other out. A lot of times, progesterone is one of the first hormones that starts decreasing, oftentimes in the early 30s. It actually breaks down into a metabolite called allopregnanolone, which in turn improves GABA and helps with that mood regulation and sleep. So progesterone is often prevalent too in the luteal phase, which is why women will sometimes tell us after their period, those following weeks leading up until they start their period again, they feel pretty good overall.
The last one is testosterone. I kind of have 2 different parties on female approaches to testosterone. Some are super excited. They want it because they've heard that it improves energy, drive, motivation, that stuff like guys. And then some just seem to think that it's going to be for sex only. Are you using testosterone, and how do you use it in these women?
Absolutely. We are using testosterone in these women who come in complaining of fatigue, low energy, decreased libido, decreased sex drive. Women need testosterone too. It's not just a male hormone. And I know a lot of times women are worried about it masculinizing them. The testosterone we use is such a small dose in comparison to what we use for men. And women just feel better on it. We're often testing their levels and they're extremely low. And they just do well with the testosterone overall. And in addition to those benefits, it also supports bone health and bone density, mood as well. So it's a great option to use as well.
But it's not going to make you grow a penis or a mustache
No, it is not. So, like I said before, we use these really small doses in women, and you may get side effects such as acne if you're already prone to acne. You may have some abnormal hair growth on your face, things like that. But there's things we can do if that does occur. Maybe it takes lowering your dose. Maybe it's a different treatment option to counterbalance that. We just use such small doses that typically we're not seeing those side effects. We're not using bodybuilder doses or male doses where you're going to have the voice deepening, but you're definitely not going to grow a penis.
Okay. One of the other hormones that women specifically seem to respond well with is thyroid. Are you bringing in thyroid on top of everything else, or when do you look at optimizing thyroid with this or just alone?
So it's kind of dependent on the person, but oftentimes we're seeing women want to feel better overall and go ahead and add in that thyroid. So optimizing the thyroid, we're often looking at the active thyroid hormones. T4 and T3 are kind of what we're looking at, specifically T3, the active thyroid hormone. And replacing that usually helps support metabolism, energy, temperature regulation, often improves sleep, just overall helps them feel better in addition to hormones.
Yeah. And the last thing we check, or that I see on the lab panel is DHEA. What is DHEA and how can it benefit if we start somebody on that?
So DHEA is kind of a building block to hormones, especially testosterone. You can kind of consider it as like a mild form of testosterone, if you will. So it helps with mood regulation, libido, energy, and it's just a good support overall, maybe for women who aren't quite ready to do testosterone or don't really think they need it or just don't want to use it. DHEA can be really beneficial for them.
I would say one of the most common patients I'm seeing coming in is probably mid to late 40s, early 50s, and they're just struggling with just kind of being overwhelmed, mood irregularities, decrease in libido. And so we're optimizing their hormones, but what if the libido is their primary driver? It's negatively affecting their marriage, or they feel that they just want to get a little bit more spark back. How are you addressing libido specifically?
So that is complicated as well. It really just depends on a multitude of factors. It takes a deep dive into, is it psychological? Is it a physical thing? Like, is there a history of something that may be decreasing that libido or that drive? Obviously, we're looking at the complete blood panel and seeing if hormones can be optimized to help with this. But there's other options such as flibanserin, which is Addyi, that helps with libido. It's a pill that you take every day. That's specifically for premenopausal women. So we don't use that in our perimenopausal or postmenopausal women, but it is an FDA-approved medication for what we call hypoactive sexual desire disorder, or like a decreased libido. Another option would be bremelanotide, which is Vyleesi. So I kind of think of it as the Viagra for women. It's an injectable medication that's given 45 minutes prior to intercourse as needed, but it just helps with arousal and desire as well.
And we can get it as a nasal spray, and we typically get it from compounding pharmacies, so it's a little bit more cost effective. Something that we do kind of warn them about is it can cause bad nausea or headaches.
Right, flushing.
And so some of the stuff I've even seen take it 4 to 6 hours prior so that you can kind of get through the nausea and headaches first.
That's right, the PT-141.
Yeah, but it's tough to try and schedule sex and try and get it. Remember to do this 4 hours prior and then go through nausea and stuff. So sometimes we'll pre-treat with Zofran or make sure they're hydrated, that kind of stuff, but try even a smaller dose of. So this sounds super complex. Women have a lot of moving parts in our magical creatures, as we all know. What is the best to get started? How do you start this, and what can they expect once starting?
So the best thing to do would be to schedule an appointment for labs initially. We're happy to have that meeting with patients and have an appointment where we go over everything in depth. It's just super helpful if we have lab work before so that we can go over a more personalized plan. We make recommendations at these appointments. We don't pressure you to do anything. We want to make sure you're comfortable with whatever we're suggesting. But like you said, women are very complex. And so oftentimes starting these hormones, it's going to take 3 to 6 months for you to really notice a significant difference. Some women do feel quite different after 4 to 6 weeks. And it also depends on what we're doing. Are we optimizing many things, one thing? Sometimes you can kind of pinpoint certain things that you feel have improved, but oftentimes it's just a process and it takes patience and it takes working with us. I mean, we're available all the time for women to reach out if they have questions, concerns, if they need anything at all regarding their hormone treatment plan.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming in. Just to schedule an appointment with Tiffany, we'll just get you to go to liveoaktestosterone.com and self-schedule an appointment, or you can call 325-777-0737 and we'll get you on the books. Thanks. Thanks for joining. This was mainly an intro to female hormone podcast. I wanted to just cover the basics. I wanted people to meet Tiffany, as she's going to be the main face for the female hormone replacement patients. We are going to have another episode where we get much more in depth into various female hormonal conditions, PMDD, PCOS, hyposexual desire disorder, menopause. We are managing all of those and they do great with hormone optimization, but I just wanted to have people see and meet Tiffany and get some basics to them.